Hi, today I'm going to go over a 2-gram sodium diet with you. So a 2-gram sodium diet is really important if you have high blood pressure, kidney, liver disease, because it helps with the function of those organs and it allows them to work less hard if you consume less sodium. So the reason we want you to consume less sodium is so that your body will retain less fluid and will be able to work a little less hard because of it. You may be able to see how this extra fluid affects you because you may be able to see like swelling in your hands, your legs, your arms, all that stuff. And so when you consume a lot more sodium, you hold water around those places, which makes it harder to do extra things and it makes your body work harder. So today we're going to go over the 2-gram sodium diet with you. And so when you're looking to consume foods that have less sodium, it's always important to consider that salt is the main source of sodium. So no matter what, if you're a big salt eater, if you just have table salt on the table when you're eating, get rid of it. Just do away with it so that you can consume less salt overall. Another good way to limit sodium and decrease the amount that you eat each day is to prepare foods without adding salt. And then once you're done preparing those foods, go ahead and if you feel like it needs more seasoning after all those herbs and spices you added into the food, go ahead and salt it a little bit and make sure you're using the minimum amount because it's really easy to go above that sodium level of 2 grams. And then, as I said before, try a variety of herbs and spices. You'd be surprised just how far herbs and spices can go when adding to flavor of foods. Sometimes we rely too much on salt to flavor foods when we can rely on so many different things to add to make things tasty. Another good thing to be aware of are food labels. And I feel like everyone talks about the food labels, and I'm going to do the same thing. So when you're looking at the food labels, it's really important to look at the amount of sodium listed on the label and then look at the per serving amount on that label. So if you plan on eating more than 1 serving, make sure you double it or triple it, however many servings you're going to eat of that sodium so that you know how much sodium you're taking in each time. But as always, try to limit yourself to just 1 serving if it does have a lot of sodium in it, because if you eat 2 grams of sodium per meal just for breakfast, then you're done for the day. You can't have any more sodium, which it's hard not to have a lot more sodium within the day because it has almost everything is created with it. And then also be smart when you're eating out. Restaurants tend to use a lot of sodium in their foods, and it's hard just to figure out what is in the foods anyway. So a good rule of thumb to do would be to look at the restaurant's menu before you go there. Look at their nutrition facts if they have them. Most restaurants will have them. You just kind of have to dig on their website a little bit because they don't really want people to know how bad their food may be for them. So that's another good trick to use. So something else I want to talk about is when you go grocery shopping. When you're choosing foods, it would be best to stay away from frozen or packaged meals. But if you are really reliant on those types of meals, be cautious of their food labels, obviously, but also look for those with 600 milligrams of sodium or less per serving. Okay, but as always, cooking your own meals and knowing exactly what goes in your meals is the best way to go about it. Something to be aware of is that food packages that say salt-free, sodium-free, very low sodium, and low sodium still have 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to keep saying it, keep looking at that food label because it really matters. You never know, and it's just a marketing tactic, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And then also, if the packaging says unsalted, no salt added, reduced sodium or lower sodium, these items may still have sodium in them. So again, check the label. I'm gonna keep saying it. So something that you can be aware of is that there are a lot of foods that don't have sodium in them at all. So foods that don't have a lot of sodium or don't have a lot of sodium in it are fresh foods. So vegetables, fruits, frozen vegetables also don't have sodium in them. Fruits that have no added juices or sauces are also good things to go about. And also make sure when you're buying canned beans and anything that's canned, make sure it says no sodium on it, okay? And then fresh meats are also lower in sodium than processed meats, such as salami, ham, bacon, sausage, hot dogs. And I know those are really good, tasty pieces of meat, but you can make your own tasty pieces of meat with just fresh cut fish, chicken, very lean steak products. And then, as I said before, you want to eat less salt at the table when you're cooking. And then just be aware that we're looking at 1 teaspoon, so the smaller one of the, if you don't cook a lot, it might be nice to ask someone if they have their little measuring spoons. 1 teaspoon is 2,300 milligrams of sodium, so 2.3 grams of sodium, which would put you over at least the 2 grams of sodium in your diet. So it's best just to try not to salt your food if you can stand it, okay? It's also good to know that you can add flavors besides herbs and spices, because those are pretty standard. You can add lemon juice, lime juice, vinegar. You can add sodium-free seasonings or make your own at home. That could be a fun little project for you. And so something that we would recommend would be to eat, obviously, whole grains, but you can eat bread, bagels, rolls without salted tops, cold cereals, oats, grits, cream of wheat, pastas, quinoa, rice, corn tortillas, all that stuff. Fresh meats, as I said before. Dairy's going to be a little weird because some products do have a lot of sodium in them, but some dairy products that you can eat and be okay with would be like yogurt. Plant milks are great. They barely have any sodium in them. Milk or milk powder. And then small amounts of natural cheeses. So like reduced sodium cheeses can be like Swiss, ricotta, fresh mozzarella, cream cheese. Make sure it says low sodium, and then low sodium cottage cheese. And so I want to go over the foods that are not recommended. So some foods that are not recommended, I'm going to go straight to that dairy. Cheeses like Parmesan cheese. Shredded cheese has more sodium than blocks of cheese. So if you would just buy a block of cheese and grate it yourself, you're already minimizing the amount of sodium that you're going to eat anyways. String cheese has a lot of sodium in it. Cottage cheese, so again, look for the low sodium cottage cheese, and then processed cheese spreads. Something else to look for, obviously, if something is spread, it's going to have some sodium in it. And then condiments. And I know, condiments are a big one for people, but unfortunately, I just want to make sure that you're aware that some condiments do have a lot more sodium than others. So condiments such as ketchup, barbecue sauce, or Worcester sauce, you want to try to stay away from. Now, you can buy barbecue sauce and Worcester sauce if it has low sodium, okay? Soy sauce is another big one. Has a ton of sodium in it. Salsa, pickles, olives, relish, tons of sodium in it. Try to stay away from it. Then I also want you to be aware that obviously salt has sodium in it, but all the types of salt. Sea salt, kosher salt, onion salt, garlic salt, celery salt, all those different types of salt that have the name salt in it, stay away from it, try to minimize it, okay? And then seasoning mixes also have salt, so make sure you read the ingredient list on that food label also, all right? So basically, it's just important to be aware of all these things, and it might seem hard at first, but it really is doable, and just develop a routine. So get in the habit of not putting salt on the table and then seasoning with a little bit of salt after you've cooked the meals. All right, perfect. Okay, thank you for meeting with me and going over your diet education. Bye.